started as well. Can you see that, bro?
Mm. Yeah, I can see that.
Okay, so firstly, in terms of hourly on the BTC, right? The last lower high that led to the lower low for me, or even if you were to go in this on the 4 hours, right? If you're looking at any sort of meaningful time frame, the last lower high that led to the lower low for me is this peak here, because that wasn't a lower low. You can call that a double bottom or something, right? And the double bottom is occurring just by chance directly above your higher time frame stacked imbalances. I don't think so, right? So either that is it, we front run, right? And then we break out swift trend high low and we break it, go. Or I think this is a, I think we do go and get this filled at some point if this is in the bottom, right? Because we have a juicy amount of stacked imbalances to the to the bottom side for now. Now on the daily there isn't anything, right? On the daily there's no stacked imbalances or anything like this. The ones here they've all been filled, right? So daily we don't have anything to worry about. What about the weekly? Anything to worry about? No, higher time frame wise, it's going to be rare to leave stacked imbalances for a long time. So there's nothing. Definitely nothing on the monthly, I'm sure. Yeah, so there's nothing on these. But on the weekly, sorry, on the 4 hours, right? On the 6 hours, so on and so forth. Now on the more lower time frames, even on the 12 hours, right? We can very clearly see we have stacked imbalances that we haven't taken out yet. So if we can go and flip, what was a once a stacked imbalance, this was the ask side imbalance, right? If we can flip it back into support, sure, we can make an argument for going back higher. But otherwise, I think if another lower high is printed, I think we do get one more flush down. And I would love to see one more flush, right? I would love to see it. I don't know if we get it, but I think it'd be amazing. Some of the bids would get, some of the fills would get. It's going to be absolutely huge if we do get one more flush down. But if we do get one more flush, the only imbalance I see is down here. I would not be, realistically, I would not be expecting price to drop below 69 and stay under for a long time. In terms of order flow, right? In terms of footprint charts, in terms of even key levels, there's no reason to be thinking, oh, we're going to go straight to a 50k or something like this for no reason, right? So for now, this is very much a front run of even this, right? This high here very much is a front run of that. So for me to confirm whether it's a front run or not, of course, I want to see the trend shift. As long as the trend hasn't shifted, we're still downtrending. It'd be uh, a bit soon for me to be like, oh yeah, this is it, this is the bottom, right? At least let's break the trend. Let's see recaptures of some key levels if that is the bottom. Otherwise, I'm vying for one more flush. And especially right now, where we sat on the 4 hours, there's nothing here. But on the hourly, or on the 4 hours, on the higher time frame, you only stacked imbalances to the upside. But now something like the 2 hours, the hourly, you've hit your sell side stacked imbalance, right? And of course, in a downtrend, what you notice is anytime you hit sell side stacked imbalances, you tend to go down, right? Downtrend, right? Stacked imbalances were created, hit lower high, down, hit lower high, down, right? And then when you back in an uptrend, buy side imbalances are where you bounce off of. Downtrend again, hit, 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 hit all of those back down. So right now, locally, we are in a downtrend, right? Locally, I'm not talking about weekly, monthly, so on and so forth. Locally, if you look at even the daily, right, there is no arguing we are currently in a downtrend on the daily, right? Forget that, right? We're just talking about this price action here, because on the weekly, like we've always said, there is no reason to be bearish. Right? On the higher time frame, we literally haven't even back tested this yet. So how can we be bearish above that? We can't. But I'm now talking more specifically, zoomed into this local level. We are once again locally in a downtrend, and we are approaching sell side imbalance. Okay, these are your sell side imbalance, aggressive selling imbalance, right? And we've hit that, we've rejected for now. So if we cannot go and flip this into support, then I think one more drive to pair with that 12-hour, 4-hour buy side imbalance to the downside, I think that could very well be something we see. Guaranteed? No. But is it a fact the trend locally still lower highs and lower lows? Yes, right. Locally again, not macro, locally. So until that local trend on the daily, on the 4 hours flips bullish, on the hourly even flips bullish, I don't have any reason to be like, oh yeah, the bottom is in with definite. All we have is you had a double bottom scenario, and for me, double bottom, sure, they're nice for the move up, but eventually when you do have a move back down, that's simply representing an area underneath which a lot of stop losses are going to be sat. So even as we speak, there's going to be a lot of stops below this key level here. Yeah, I'm not even going to call this a key level. There's going to be a lot of stops below this level because our key level is a bit lower. There's going to be a lot of stops here. Double bottom simply means buys bid here. Okay, that's a footprint left behind. So for me, this right here for now, 77, right? But ultimately, you go to anything like the 4 hours or the 12 hours, we've got some nice stacked imbalances to the downside right over here. That's why I'd love to see get taken out before we go high. Again, is it Does it need to happen? No, but would it be way nice if it did happen? Definitely yes. Okay, so I'm going to vie for that for now. Let's see what happens. But that's in terms of order flow, right? Now, what I was saying earlier was for a Sunday, there's random spikes in volume. So you can see this is dead. There's going to be random spikes. But the reason again we've topped out here, what we see here is right. This is on the 5 minutes. What do we see in terms of this? Your POC is all the way down over here. Your aggressive selling is winning over aggressive buying, which is why we've topped out locally, right? So if we can now once again go ahead and put even 5 minutes distributive structure down, right, at these highs, then we can slowly begin breaking down and working our way to the downside, right? You're back at a local level in terms of key areas. But what kind of price action did we get up there at the sell side imbalance is what I'm interested in. And the price action we got, like we've talked about many times, is look at that. Huge amount of volume, right? A huge amount of volume. In fact, to really view it, let's look at it on the hourly on Bybit. For my Bybit's my go-to exchange. So if you look at this in Bybit, what we see is huge macro point of control above you, right? Huge buying pressure coming in. But once you actually get to your bids, what kind of candle are you getting? Look, overall positive delta. What does that mean? That means there was more aggressive buying than aggressive selling going on, right? That's what that means. And yet, look how your candle closed. SFP to the upside. Your high volume nodes are above you. Your point of control is above you. And your candle closed with the SFP red. If the aggressive buyers won, why is the candle red? That means we have absorption going on. That is, buyer absorption has gone on here, right? Which was a nice sign. I didn't trade this, right? I didn't trade this at all. I didn't have access to trading. We only had mobile data, right? So I pretty much just took a short here based off of intuition, literally. But not because I had anything like this. But looking back at it now, this is absorption, right? That's buyer absorption, and now you're again locally back into a downtrend. So I would love to see this continue. I would love for that to have been the top, and for us to now go down and take that out first, right? Range some more, maybe like I said, go take out those stacked imbalances to the downside. But if not, then if you flip this, especially if you take out the last lower high, that led to the lower low, which is at 88k, and you put some sort of high low in, right? Whatever that may be, then I would no longer worry about perhaps we're going to go down to 65 or whatever. Because if that trend gets taken out on the 4 hours, on the daily, then I'm just going to be looking for bids on any high lows that come in. Okay. But I thought I'd do one with a main focus on order flow today, specifically footprint charts, simply because you guys already know what my thoughts are in terms of the diagonals. Right. I will look at diagonals as well, but in terms of this now on Bitcoin, buyer absorption did take place over there. It's not daily buyer absorption. It's not like anything serious. In fact, I believe the daily candle is still ongoing. Yeah, but on the hourly at least, we've got buyer absorption. So if you are vying for downside, that's the first hurdle, let's say, cleared. Right, you just need follow through from there, which you already have initially, but we want bigger follow through, breakdowns, so on and so forth. So let's see what Monday brings. Right, let's see what Monday brings. Now, in terms of diagonals on Bitcoin, if we were to take a look over here. Let me see. What's up, guys? Come in, welcome in. Right, let's look at BTC in terms of diagonals. What have we done? Like, what's going on? So in terms of diagonals, if I was to turn you off once, and we take a look firstly at the main ones. So there's V1 right there. Right, we haven't hit the lower ones yet. There's V2. We've got reaction off the 618. So we closed above the 618 again. We've got V3, which is the downtrending. Even in terms of our main diagonals, right, this was an important area we talked about. This is the area where your intersection is currently happening between two key diagonals. Okay, that's why you bounced off there, you lost to turn to resistance for a bit, but then you broke above, flipped it back into support. Right, so if this now daily buy zone here, right, that's what I'm basing this level off of, right? You rejected off the mid, but then you flipped the mid into support. So now you're trying to flip the top half into support. If that happens, we could see one more run towards 89, 90k again, right? But the important thing is, like I said, we'll need to flip that into support, not just tap it. Because if we tap it and once again treat it as resistance, I wouldn't be surprised if we did something like this. Okay, but the reason we're getting this pump up again is because this important intersection that we said needs to be held was broken down from and then reclaimed again, basically right here. Right, it was reclaimed. Therefore, that is moving us up higher. Right? It's taken us to this, and then that's going to take us higher. Now we could get something like this, right? Something like a bearish shark. We could get 97k target if the trend keeps continuing and you get above this before you break down again. But we're just gonna have to wait and see. Like, there's no way anyone can tell specifically where we're gonna go, right? No idea. We'll just take it level by level. And for me, the next key area, if on the lower time frame you can get above that, again, stacked imbalance that was rejecting us, right? The next key area is going to be around 89 to 90k again. Basically, that's it. Something like this. And then if you reject from there again, then back to here, and if you lose that, then back to those lower levels we're talking about. Otherwise, there's a bearish shark taking us towards like 97. So let's see what happens, right? Let's see what happens. That is Bitcoin. What about in terms of key inflection areas? That's the important thing. We front run KF5. What did I say? Like, either expect a front run or a raid. Never expect the perfect scenario. Okay, so we've got the front run for now. The question is, are we going to front run and then blast off, or are we gonna eventually come back down again? So why have I marked this area out? If you go to the daily, this is your macro read of this massive rejection, right, that you had from the key inflection area. That's your massive rejection that you had, right? That's the reason I marked that. You could have done that 3-day seller zone. You could have done that weekly, right? That daily macro read, the weekly seller zone, same thing, right? There's your seller zone. You've hit the mid. If you can't get above this, you could very easily claim for this to be inverted smiley face. Okay, if you were to go to the daily now, hopefully you see it. The initial resistance, you've got this massive raid on liquidity here, reconfirmation of resistance, that could send you lower, right? But we know that until you get above historical price range 6 mid, right, we're not going anywhere higher. Okay, so this, you're looking for that move up. It doesn't even matter if you didn't long that. Okay, but if you don't get that, then ultimately I'd still think you chop around in the lower half / actually get the KFA finally before you make any moves to the upside. One sec. There. So that's in terms of key inflection areas, right? So diagonals by seller zones, key inflection areas, we've looked at in terms of everything. And this right now, I'm not going to say this is bullish, what's happening, right? Obviously buyers are trying to take control, that's always nice. But that we also have the fact that trend hasn't shifted yet, right? So if you call the lows, great, right? Great. Over here, you won't do much. You scalp, that's it. Right, even scalping your risk to reward isn't really going to be the best in terms of between 85 to 82, great, right? Where we currently are, no, right? That rejection there, that would have been fine. If you hit this level, that would have been fine. Currently, as we speak, in the middle, you don't do anything here. Either you now wait for 85 to get flipped, you take a scalp up to 88, or you wait for another rejection from 85, you take a scalp down to 82, and then if you lose that, back down to 77, right? And then to 73, 68. Your key levels are there, right? But all around key levels. Execution always around key levels, not in the middle of nowhere. Where you currently are is not a key level for scalps, right? Now, one more thing I wanted to try and figure out is, let's see, because I was seeing this on my phone, but I'm not going to try and draw like lower time frame harmonics on my phone. So let me see, do we have any sort of lower time frame wave structure over here? Some choice of colors there. I'm a genius. Jesus, white on white. Why have I done that? One sec. There. Okay, so that is an 886. Hang on. There we go. That's an 886. Give me that 886, I beg. One sec. Go 886. So 886, we could definitely have one more stab higher for a bearish bat, locally speaking. Right, there you go. I'll get lower time frame, I don't really pay attention to. That's one wave structure that's again taking us higher, more locally, right? There we go. That's one. And the other one, let's see, does it work or not? We have this low. This high, sorry, to that low, to there. Oh yeah, that will work. That could very easily be a Gartley. First, we're gonna 618, right? There you go, 618, 546. So 786 is what you're looking at, and the Gartley has hit. Okay, the bearish Gartley has hit. In fact, I believe this reaction you're getting is probably off the bearish Gartley. So 786 is right here. If any of you, for those of you, maybe you noticed this, maybe you took a short of it, you can see 786, and then more importantly, once the D point hit, did we get confirmation? Yes, we did. The D point had confluence with your weekly seller zone mid, right? And many attempts on the 1 hour from buys to get above, but every single time you close below, right? So the short entry was very apparent over here. That's taken us down, right? So now, if that is the case, your T1 for this would be the 382, and the T1 hasn't hit, that's 81k, and your T2 would be the 618, 78, right? So if the bearish Gartley does play out, then those are the targets you're looking at. Okay, let me just delete that for now. However, I don't like that. Let me hide this, right? So that hasn't hit yet. The bearish Gartley has hit, and another thing we know is, if that is indeed a proper 618, and we don't get, if the bearish Gartley, even it just goes just to T1, right? It doesn't actually ruin this high low structure locally putting, then this has the potential to turn into a crab. And if this turns into a crab, then we're talking 1.618 on the extension. There we go. Right. So between the 3.618 to the 1.618 will be a PRZ, which lines up with our bigger harmonic we were looking at earlier. Right. So those are three. Currently we are at the Gartley, which is here. These two are now potential. There. So for now, the Gartley is what you're focusing on. If you flip this into support, basically the 86 is next, and if you get above that, then if you get off the mid of the PRZ, not the PRZ, the bloody hell, the historical price range, then the 1.618 is what I'd be looking for next. You're looking at a shoot up all the way back towards the high 90s, in my opinion. Okay, there, 1.618, 97,419. So basically, if you are hoping for lower, let's hope it happens before this happens. Okay, because that's going to be, you know, anyone that's trying to short without risk management around this area, if they don't account for this, you'd be very surprised. Why did we go this high before rejecting, basically? There we go. So those are the potential M shapes to the upside, right? Those are bearish. So currently we're at the Gartley. Let's focus on that for now, and then just take it from there. So that is BTC. Do I think the bottom is in? Do I think the top is in? I don't care. I don't know, right? There's no way of knowing is the bottom is the top in. There's just no way. It's a coin flip. It's like throwing darts blindfolded. Yeah, it might be in. No one knows exactly when it's gonna come in, right? All I'm gonna be waiting for is that shift in structure to like just do the final bids on my actual alts. That's it, right? Otherwise, I don't care if the bottom is in or not, because the trend for me is still to the downside. So once that changes, we can then talk, right? But even on the hourly right now, if you were to zoom out, hopefully you can see lower highs that led to lower lows haven't been taken out yet. It could get taken out within the day's end. It could get taken out by the time next week closes. Who knows, right? It could get taken out sometime within the start of next week. But until it does get taken out and a higher lows put in, trend is still to the downside for me. Okay, so we're just going to play off that. And of course, on the higher time frame, you guys already know my thoughts, we need to be above this, right? Then you really expand up. You have a shot back at 110s, and then you can go up to 120s, 130s, 40s. We can look at, you know, targets back to the upside. But for now, below this, I'm not going to be calling tops. I'm not going to be calling bottoms, right? Let's just see how the range develops. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. So that is Bitcoin currently speaking. Okay. Let's see, what else do I need to look at? Let's look at total one. That's something I want to look at too. It's important to look at total one right now because, like I said, total two still below the range mid, right? Total three, you're still rejecting off your last lower high, your mitigated order block, still at that, you know, absolute crazy area, right? Where it's pretty. Look at that. You can't look at this and say it's bullish. You can't look at this and say it's bearish. That weekly candle is very nice, but you're not closing above your key levels yet, right? So total two indecisive, total three indecisive. Others very indecisive of what you meant to do with this. You've hit the 886, sure, but you haven't reclaimed any important levels. Most importantly, you haven't claimed this zone. That's what we need to be within to even have a shot at going up, right? You're still below this resistance in the first place, or once used to be support. DeFi pumped straight into the diagonal and nice resistance. So even though it's a nice candle, you're not above your support yet. Oh, this dominance. You've pumped back up off. You've now completed your butterfly 1.272, but you pumped straight into that area that was support for us before. And take a look at it now. It's not support yet, right? So for all these reasons, you cannot be overly bullish here, okay? And I'm speaking right now as a trader, okay? As a trader, if you are leveraging, right? If you're not focused on 6 months down the line, yearly down the line. If you focus on those, you just bid or spot slowly, like 20, 40, 40, and you just manage your risk. You're going to be fine on the long run, right? But I'm speaking specifically to you guys as a trader now. Until we get above this, right? Any rejections from here is going to bleed the hell out of volts again. It's what it is, right? So the only thing to look at right now that's key is Total 1, because Total 1's the only one that is trying to go and to flip 2021 12-month seller zone mid back into support. You've got a daily close above. You're trying to get that successful retest, right? For Confluence, you've got again a daily buy seller zone right over here. There we go. My daily buy seller zone. So if you can stay above this, Total 1 has room to impulse up even more. It does, right? Total 1 has room to impulse up. You could draw bearish harmonics, M shapes locally. You can get targets that way, right? You guys all know how to do that by now, unless you're new. For example, you very much have what looks to be a shark 886. In this case, I'll be going for the 1.13, just because that actually fits all the parameters. Something like that for Total 1 wouldn't be out of the question if we did stay above 2021 12-month seller zone mid. Of course, we need to get above 2.72 trillion as well, but it's within the realms of possibility, right? So which is why if Total 1 goes up, of course, everything else goes up alongside it. But Bitcoin is the one that's going to catch that the most, in my opinion. Right, so Total 1 is the one to look out for now, right? Let's see, because that weekly close, it can close like this, but the next week could reverse it again. Who knows, right? The important thing is, by the time this daily closes, are you going to close above this zone? And more importantly, after that successful retest, will the confirmation candle stay above, or will the confirmation nuke us back below? Because if the confirmation nukes us back below, then you'd be looking for a drive back to the downside. Maybe 2.21 trillion to 2.19 trillion finally gets hit, right? Maybe you rate these, something like that, and then do that. But if you can hold this, then I think we get that relief back to the upside, right? So that is Total 1. Like I said, it's worth looking at others, of course, but mainly I'll put my attention right now on Total 1, right? So this out of the question. This is 1.51. Maybe you get a 1.618 at some point. One more drive down, right? Let's see. I'll just mark it out for now. And then I'll be looking for a 1.13 basically. There for a sharp. But yeah, below the mid on this, right? So nothing much to do as long as you're below the mid. 886 didn't hold. Now you're trying to get back above it. But the question is, will you maintain it, right? If you do maintain it, if you do something like this, for example, you've got smiley face being put in, great. But until that happens, let's take stock and just wait and see what happens. Okay, we're 6 hours away, 7 hours away from weekly close. No point interrupting, or rather, pulling the gun this close on a Sunday next to weekly close. Right. So that is the totals and USDT dominance. Let's take a look. What are you doing? Literally, you hit the 886. Now what you're trying to do, this very, very key zone that we've talked about, you're trying to flip it to support. There's no doubts about it. You're trying to flip it to support, right? So if I turn off group 2 once, which is these, and I leave that on, the reason I drew this on, it was very important. Support, resistance, as we can see, resistance, support, support, resistance, resistance. Now attempting to be flipped to support. If this flips to support, this can very easily push higher. But now if we lose this as support, right, and more importantly, we turn 23/24 12-month buy seller zone low into resistance, then we can expect that relief pump. Then we can expect that move back to the downside, right? Something like that perhaps. But we have hit a bearish harmonic 886. So let's see, do we have anything else? Because now that that's from there, if I take it any higher, that's going to be invalidated. So never mind. Yeah, that's it. Bearish harmonic hit. You got your initial reaction, went above. So now if you do something like this, this is what I'd watch out for. On Total 1, this is what you're looking for. Not Total 1, on USDT dominance, okay? you guys probably know where I'm going with this already. You know me well enough by now, but you have initial resistance at the harmonic. You had a massive raid on liquidity. So if you can get something like this on, relief rally back on, in my opinion. But if you cannot get above this as support again, sorry, if you get above this as support again and then go higher, right, then that's it, right? We just go take out our externals and then call it a day, probably somewhere around up at this zone. But now keep an eye on for that, because if you see that happening, set some alerts, do what you have to do, right? Don't miss it, you know, in case I'm busy and I can't alert you guys, right? If that happens and you see it, then take your risk managed long entries, okay? Because of that deviation, we could get a drive back down towards the support. Who knows? Like, something like this can happen, right? But that is the important thing now. The 8 bearish harmonic, inverted smiley face. Does it occur or does it not occur? If it occurs, bullish. If it doesn't occur, not bullish. You probably, this goes back up, I bearish for crypto. Okay. So that is a USDT dominance. Let's look at USDC dominance. Anything interesting at a key level that we marked out back into what? Here's the thing. I always forget why I marked areas out. So why did I mark this? It's a bit wide, isn't it? It's the okay monthly fair value gap. Yeah, bullish fair value gap on the monthly. You're at the mid. I mean, actually, there's nothing much to say here. Same thing. If you can smiley face this, inverted smiley face this, you've got reasons to believe in, again, the relief rally being back on, perhaps the bottom even being in, right? But if this flips into support, or you have one more stab at the highs, basically, to just to take this out, right? We have a massive supply zone there, as you can see. Impulse, consolidate, impulse down. That's your mitigated, that's your modified supply zone. Maybe we rate that before we go lower, right? So just keep these key levels in mind. BVOL, what about you? No, Bitcoin dominance, sorry. Has hit now the 1.618, right? The Bitcoin dominance has hit the 1.618. You went to fill seller zone, you topped out. It's too good. The mid of the seller zone, you back tested it. What was once resistance on the daily confirmed to be resistance again. So I wouldn't be surprised if Bitcoin dominance does have a pullback and olds cast some rotation. Why did olds pump? Because we had this, right? Because we rejected yesterday from the 0.5, 63.77% of your Bitcoin dominance chart. I still think higher is very possible, but that doesn't mean we can't do this before we go higher. Something like this. Right. So if we do get continued move back to the downside around 6.62%, then I think olds get some more rotations. We probably see olds go a bit higher before, like, you know, everything resets, and then maybe we resume that move down that we were expecting. If this is the up before down scenario, Bitcoin dominance is letting you know olds is probably going to catch rotations. But if you can go and flip this back into support, then ultimately, like I said, you guys know my thoughts. 1.618 is what I'm interested in. 65.62% first. Because if you get above this 2-week fair value gap, then 70% is all but guaranteed, in my opinion. 70, 70.98, 73.63, those would be your key targets. Right? So that is Bitcoin dominance. And then, am I interested in anything else? Fuck no. Let's go and look then. We've done BTC, let's look at ETH next, okay? So, ETH holding again. Weekly candle is a nice candle, right? If the weekly closes like this in 6 hours, you can try and take a swing on ETH. Okay, you guys know how this works. That's a successful retest of not just any old level. Okay, you guys know for my system, this is historical price range 2 mid. If the mid is respected, we're expecting a move up towards the key inflection area that is above minimum, right? So then you can, you know, again, this doesn't mean you don't have to go all in, right? 15%, so you could go like 30-40% initials here. Once trend shifts, you can always size up a bit more in the future, right? You're not going to go parabolic straight away. Like, even you're not going to care if your average is somewhere below this zone, realistically. If you think ETH's going to go 4K plus, you're not going to care, okay? Just make sure you don't get chopped out, like, you know, at the lows before the move happens. You guys already know the risk management strategy. Key levels is here. Whether you look at it in this form or whether you look at it in the other form that I gave you guys, which is this one, which is, we actually drew this live on stream here last time I streamed, right? Which was, I think, start of this week or last week. We said, look, if you're going to draw a key inflection area here, it's this one. That is exactly what you filled. In fact, no, it was here, because as soon as I made that video is when we got this big drop. So we filled the key inflection area. No matter how you do your historical price ranges, this is a very key zone. right? This is either the historical price range mid or the key inflection area, depending on how you look at it. But either way, areas where you take note. Okay. So if the weekly closes like this, you cannot argue with the validity of trying to be positioned for upside on ETH rather than downside. Okay. And better yet, if I now through this, I've already shown you guys this wave structure before, but XABCD, Ethereum currently has a 78.6% retrace to the upside. Okay, so if you go from that low to that high, that's a 0.786 right over here. Right now, as soon as you see a 786, you should only be thinking about one shape, and that shape is a butterfly. So 786, and now we've had a 0.839. okay, that's the 839. Of course, we could get the 886 and go slightly deeper. It could happen, right? And again, if that happened, you've got confluence with they're being chopped around this zone before. But ultimately, even if we did hit that, we're looking for the 1.272 on the extension. Okay, this is within the realms of a butterfly now. 1.272. 1.272 is going to put us squarely within, literally flirting with the 6k levels. Okay, this is a target for ETH. This is a completely valid pull. Okay, 786, there's your 886. Even if you do get one drive deeper, that's what I'm hoping for. But even if not, right, this is completely valid. That is a deep retracement. But basically, I would take this as a 786 right now. There. If we take this as a 786, the question is the 786 being respected, right? The answer to that is yes, the 786 is indeed being respected, because yeah, you've had wicks before below, but that's wicks. If you close above, as long as you keep closing above, you're saying 786 is being support, right? So then 1.272, that's what I'll be looking for on ETH. Okay, don't get it twisted. Please do not let this be the moment where you flip bearish on ETH. Okay, we've had loads of opportunities to flip bearish on ETH. This isn't where you flip bearish on ETH. If you lose this level, sure, you've got a reason to, right, until you reclaim. But now that you've had even from that high there, now that you've had a 66% drop in price, this isn't where you all of a sudden decide you want to be an ETH bear. Okay, so if this holds, that's it. If you lose the key inflection area, I'd expect the 886 to get hit, and that's what you're looking for next. Okay, and then if you completely violate the 886, then this wave structure goes out the window. Right, this particular one anyway, goes out the window. But until then, till something like that does happen, this is it on Ethereum. Okay, this is the key area we need to hold. No matter how you look at it, this is the key area we need to hold. So literally 6 hours, wait for the weekly close, right? Daily seems to be compressing within, right? You can see locally on the 1 hour, on the whatever you want to look at, right? Locally speaking, buys are defending, right? Buys around that, buys are entering, buys are defending. So based off this, should the weekly close like this, I think it's, for your spots anyway, and you can swing this if you want, low leverage swing. I'm not going to say low leverage, you guys already know leverage is irrelevant. Manage your position size, right? You can swing it, but Ethereum, areas I'm interested in, very, very interested in. Okay. And if ETH BTC does indeed bottom out soon too, that's going to be very good news for our alts, right? But let's cross that bridge once we get to it. Again, don't be sad, because I know, as especially if you're predominantly a lower time frame trader, you're going to be mad you didn't have a bag from 1394. Doesn't matter. Okay, I don't have any positions right now. Okay, not from 1394. So I'm just waiting for the logical close, and I'm going to get back in again. Got out 6 figures in ETH. I'm going to put, maybe not 6 figures straight away. Like I said, I'm going to 2040 it, but I'm just going to build it back up. Exited with nice profits, so it's going to be a couple of digits in the 6 figures. Okay, I'm going to throw into ETH here. On spot, I'm not going to leverage. I'm going to leverage, obviously, but my main bag's going to be on spot. The leverage is just going to be for like trading and stuff, basically, right? But yeah, that's Ethereum. Like I said, I honestly look at this and tell me, hand in heart, you think this is the moment to turn into an ETH bear? No. If you start turning this into resistance, right? Historical price range 2 mid. You start turning this key inflection area into resistance, sure. Especially if you click on this and you manage to get below 1463, you turn that to resistance, sure, be a bear. I don't care, as long as you're below that, be a bear. But above, no sir, because you look at historical price action, it does not bode well to be sat there fingering the short button when you're above this price level. Okay, So that is Ethereum. Any questions on this before I move on? Let me check the chat. Yes. Sup, Adam, Cosmic Brother, welcome. Will. My duvets, bro, that's funny. Yeah, bro. Fibs, I've got like a I can basically overlay them now. It's crazy. Okay. No, I left that. I already updated that one, right, bro? My BTC position, I took some profits when I was 40% in, so I hadn't fully closed. Why? Because of this, right? If you look at ETH BTC, proper chart is here. This moment right here, right? So I entered big. Of the 40%, so I had a 60k pot I wanted to put into ETH against BTC, and did 40% of that when this reaction here was happening, right? We had a really clean reaction the first time. I had limit set for this one on Prime XBT because you can't leverage this on Prime XBT, so I just limited this one 40%, and then took profits when we went up because, as you can see, we went up below the point of control, below the actual area you need to get above. Just no strength coming in whatsoever, absolutely no strength coming in whatsoever. Right, so yeah, I took some profits there, put my stop loss to break even. Right, all this aggressive buying, it just wasn't needing anywhere. You couldn't get above any key area. I didn't feel good holding it. It didn't feel good. So took some profits, put my stop loss to break even, and obviously the rest wasn't sized up with. So then I got stopped out. Overall, walked away with some profits. I'm just gonna look to get back in, but not here because you literally look. We're turning the first standard deviation one of the low to high, value area low, from that low to that high, the standard deviation one of the value area low, right? Turning that to resistance. So at this point, you either reclaim that, or I would expect you go and rate the lows. No, in all honesty, I'm not joking. I think you go and rate the lows on ETH BTC because I don't see why I would just randomly bounce from here now. At this point, just give us a clean raid, reclaim. I'll just get in then. That's it. Yeah, but yeah, you know, no respect. I'm not invalidating these patterns, by the way, right? Because these are high. Don't forget, these are high time frame patterns. Started since 2019, so 1 week isn't enough to invalidate them. I would need months and months of bearishness here to invalidate these. So even on the monthly, what you're looking for now is bullish structure here. If you can go and reclaim that on the monthly, you're in for the ride of your lives on ETH BTC. Okay, this wave structure is not invalidated. You have the time frame perspective in mind. Okay. So yeah, I'm just gonna see how much do we chop, right? Maybe if we go and hit the hop of the bat of the shark, who knows, right? We'll have to go and see. But yeah, for now, I'm not bidding ETH against BTC for now because this is just straight up to the downside. There's no structure for me to bid, right? That's the important thing. No reason for me to pull the trigger. But once I see reason forming, I then go on a live stream, put the chart in the Weatherman channel, like chart dump channel, and we'll get in accordingly. But for now, no, nothing here. Even on the lower time frame, there is absolutely no strength. This is just death, straight death. So for now, nothing. Yeah, latter half of this week, bro, because I'm still in Brighton. I'm renovating my property here. So once I'm back, probably latter half of this week if I'm free. Otherwise, I'll reach out to everyone by next week to get everyone clocked in again. Right. Okay, so let's go. That's ETH. That's ETH against BTC. So let's look at some alts. Right. Literally just some alts, and we're done for today. Just wanted to update you guys. First thing I wanna mention. What did I mention last time? The best looking thing on the market was Farcoin. Right. And what we were saying last time we looked at this was, if that flip is successful on Farcoin, this thing's gonna run. So if we take a look at what Farcoin did, absolutely ridiculous. Made a hefty amount on this move up. Where is it? Come on. There we go. Absolutely insane, right? This is absolutely ridiculous because last time we looked at it, it was here. I was saying if this retest is successful, then it's gonna carry on going higher. That's it, right? You broke out, the retest was successful by the time Sunday closed, and boom, you just shot up. Ain't nothing to it. This is absolutely ludicrous. Yeah, Farcoin mental. Scalp the swing. This was the scalp the swing trade we initially entered. That was the swing, right? All from down here, and then spots as well, of course, right? But honestly, the best performer. So that was Farcoin. insane. So now obviously we're seeing some distribution coming in on the daily. I'm not even going to say we're seeing distribution coming in, we're seeing sellers step in, right? So there was a daily reaction of the 2024 12-month seller zone low. We're not surprised. This is a yearly level. This could definitely have another pullback, right? So next, if you're looking for a Farcoin bid, the next area you should be eyeing is this, in my opinion. You know what? Let's make that a bit wider. Is this, okay? If you get back in here and you see bulls taking control, you're not in, it's not too late. You can still get in, right? Don't forget, everyone is still ultra bearish, okay? If you're gonna get back in, it's gonna be here. And again, you missed out on, like, you know, from our actual entries when we're looking at this not that long ago. This is 369% move up, right? It is what it is. But that, don't let that distract you from the fact that this is nowhere near the targets that, you know, if we do go into a full-blown alt season by latter half of this year, quarter 3, quarter 4, then this has much more gas in its tank. We're talking round numbers. We look at wave structures as they come. But from here, even onto even to just externals, right? If we were to, let's say, get a smack bang retest of the mid there, you're still talking another 331%. So it's definitely not like something to scoff at, okay? And if we do, like, you know, actually go and break these highs, we go put new highs in, of course we're going to be talking higher. So if you do get that pullback, I'd say capitalize on it. I wouldn't just blindly enter here now, okay? Because we've been talking about this for a long time. Every single stream we did, Farcoin is one of the coins we've gone over. ENA, Farcoin, Hype. So they're the same coins we looked at, right? I've not looked at any different notes with you guys. It's always been the same ones. So it's this one. I know some of you got in. I know some of you closed early. Yeah, guess what it is, okay? Don't feel battered about it. Don't feel like, oh shit, I missed a move. It's what it is. You'll get another entry, okay? This coin's been, at the end of the day, this coin's been amazing even on the lower time frame, right? And I know for a fact blockchain's been killing it, at least with the lower time frame scalps. And I know Rai's been scalping this as well. Yeah, lower time frame distributive structure. So yeah, the short was there. But yeah, that's Farcoin. Just wanted to touch on that real quick because I've been getting some questions about this because I posted this on Twitter. The P&Ls on this on Twitter. But let's look at coins that are more actionable now. Hey, let's go. Okay, let's do a top down just for our mains real quick. Vanry, yeah, holding, but below macro point of control, very close to it. Wouldn't touch this here. And it's not. It didn't bounce from. One sec. I think it's better to look at here. Yeah, this didn't bounce from like, you know, standard deviation 1 low. Okay, it's creating new lows as it goes along. So don't be like, oh, that was such a good bounce. If you look to the left, there is no data on the left. So this is literally because it created a new low. So there's no significance yet to this. The significant thing is that point of control. But the better Vanry chart is over here. So let's take a look on Vanry. Okay, we've hit the mid of that area that I had marked out, right? Why did I mark this out? Because I said this is where the demand zone is. So if you're going to go anywhere now on Vanry, it's going to be that 2-week demand zone. Impulse down, consolidate, impulse back off. You've hit the mid, nice reaction of it, right? Nice reaction. I'm not in Vanry right now, okay? Unless a limit's filled that I don't know about. I need to check. I'm not in Vanry. I've not manually opened the position. So, but I don't care. I don't care if I enter here. I don't care if I enter here. If ultimately, even just I'm targeting this, I don't care, honestly, right? So I'd rather wait for the structure. If we can get some sort of smiley face here, that'd be perfect. Then I could really enter with a bit more confidence, right here. So if you, for example, if we were to get this, right, something like this, and then the breakout, if we'd have a smiley face, that'd be a nice area to enter in, right? But Vanry, add key areas. Hopefully you don't look at this and think, oh yeah, this looks like a good short. It's really not. If you're thinking about shorting, just stay away, right? Just stay away from the shorts, and then just bid when the time is right. In my opinion, unless you're scalping, like when I say this on a higher time frame perspective. And if you're scalping, it's different. You can scalp longs and shorts whenever you want. Doesn't matter the trend, right? I'm speaking specifically now for spot bids. I'm speaking a bit higher time frame. If you're thinking Vanry's about to go to zero, it's not going to happen, okay? Or rather, you're not going to catch that short like that anyway. So let's just see what kind of reaction we get off that 2-week demand zone now. I just want some sort of out, high, low, right? Smiley face, any sort of accumulative structure. We don't have that yet. We simply had the mid held and you've had a reaction up, right? So I want some sort of pullback here, smiley face, anything like this to actually base an entry off of. Okay, Vanry. Let's look at Solana next. Solana, nice move up. I was really hoping for that 1.13 to hit. It front ran. Doesn't matter. What did I say? Below this level, we're going to get triple double digit SOL, and we've got it, right? 102.54, 94.73. We hit that. Like I said, below this, that is the next zone, right? Very clean close above on Solana. I have got some Solana, right? Based off that close there. 94.73, 102.5. Great. If you visit again, give us the shark, give us these lows here now. Go even better, I'll add more now, right? These are areas where I'm not going to shy away from having Sol. Are you going to enter Sol now? No, you're back again at resistance, okay? Very nice candle, yes, but once again you are back at resistance. If you cannot go and get above 133.96, there's no point adding. Okay, literally just wait for that. Even if it's a lower time frame flip, that flip is going to go a long way in telling you should you be in Sol or not, right? So let's take a look. We hit once again 2024 12-month macro read buy zone mid, same levels we've been looking at all this time. Very nice rejections of the hourly, right? So I'm not in this short, but how would you have shorted this? Just that, right? When you see that successful retest on the seller side, buyers couldn't get above. In this case, you're accounting for local deviations. That is way too high for me. Risk to reward wouldn't make sense, so the only deviation I'm accounting for would be that left there, right? And you're just taking it to the next key level. Risk to reward of 3, so on and so forth. This would have been a trade worth taking. Risk to reward of 3 was up over here. So as soon as 3 hits, you're going to take some profits. You're going to put your stop loss to break even. That is how we scalp, right? If you're scalping, is not key level space first. Is take profits off risk to reward, put your stop loss to break even, and then try to run it to key levels. Okay. But that would have been how you would have taken this. Again, I'm not in this, right? Like I said, I literally just put my internet back in, so I'm not in this one. But that would have been a very nice short to take, right? Same levels, nothing's changed. So that was Solana. If you can get above this, great. If you can't get above this, then it's what it is. But if you do get above this, you start flipping this to support, then it doesn't matter if you haven't bought any Solana here. At the end of the day, just think about 2 weeks ago. We were already saying if this flips, it'd be a great Sol addition, right? Because again, you're talking about, now let's see, ABCD wise, what are we talking? We are talking, actually, let's do this here. Right, in terms of ABCDs, your macro is here, your high is here. You have hit the 696. You've basically front run the 702, 707. Right. So for now, I would argue that you are going to be targeting the 702. So you're going to be targeting the 1.414. That target to basically, where is it? Like high $300. Right, 378 minimum. So even, in terms of key inflection areas, again, look, you're back to historical price range 2022 bear market impulse and the original impulse from that low up to the highs to the mid of that, right? We need to be above this, as you can see very clearly. This is what you kept rejecting off. It doesn't matter how nice this candle is if you cannot close above this zone. Okay, risk to reward wise, your short's still gonna make more sense especially if you close the week below. But Solana, if you don't get above this, then especially if you put a smiley face in. And what I'm hoping for here is, even if the weekly closes like this, give us a pullback, give us a smiley face if the low is in, and then send it. Right? I'd be looking for that smiley face. If we get that nice entry, that'd be an amazing entry on Sol. So let's keep an eye on it. But the 702, so 1.414. I'm not gonna put this to the 618 simply because we've already rated that by quite a big margin. We've literally just about front run the 702, right? So in this case, the 702 makes more sense to pin. So yeah, 702, 1.414. We're talking targets all the way up here on the macro if the low is in. So again, that's what I mean. Don't lose sight of. It's easy to get caught up in local noise and local feelings and local CT craziness and stuff, right? But don't lose sight of where we are. Okay, we broke down last week. This week we're attempting to hold it, but we're not doing so yet because you're closing below areas where you were closing above before. Remember, this is what price action analysis is about. It's nuanced, but this is what we're looking at. Okay, candle body closes have always been above this level with attempted stabs below from sellers that never led anywhere. Buyers kept control, but now it's the opposite. Okay, sellers are the ones in control. Buyers are attempting to recapture. If they cannot do that, it's the opposite of what's happening here. We wouldn't be surprised if we did chop some more. That's what I'm saying. Don't just don't be overly bullish now, right? Right at resistance. It's very simple. You wait for a flip. It's tiny. The entry is going to be pretty much the same, but your risk management is going to be a lot better above this. And your thesis, your reason for being in a trade, is also going to be much better just above this. Okay, so that is Solana. So whether you look at it as buy seller zones, yearly levels, or whether you look at it as key inflection areas, we're at very, very key resistance, right? So I'd want us to get above this. Again, look, that's a lower high, that left a lower low. That lower high has not been taken out yet, right? It's just not been taken out yet. So let's see what happens. Weekly close in 6.5 hours. Injective next. You're trying to reclaim 2021 12-month buy zone low. These are daily candles. Crazy. Okay. If you close, my intuition is telling me we're probably going to drop next week, right? Either next week or week after, we're probably going to have a pull down. But if the daily does close above like this, please do not be scared to at least attempt, if you're completely sidelined, a risk managed play on inch, because as you can see, it'd be a shame to let this opportunity go to waste. Okay, historic deviation, I would account for maximum around 10%, so around this basically, right? And then you're trying to take this up, even just to external highs here. That's a 3.45 RR trade. And of course, if this is too wide for you, you want a lower time frame entry, you can change this higher one. This is a higher time frame spot entry I'm giving you. Okay, you could even, if you wanted to, you wanted to keep your risk tighter, you can do just this as well if you want. That's logical. Okay, but for me, I'm accounting for historical deviations around this area. So for spot, that's how I do it. For lower time frame, for example, on the daily, you're looking for hourly, right? So you can look at the hourly structure here instead to base your hourly stop losses around if you're looking for the hourly entry. But again, do not be scared to at least please attempt, right, a position on something like this, right? Why? Because again, you're trying to recapture your daily levels. Right, this can easily, even if you go from $8 to $10, that's a 20% back on your investment. Right, so even with spot, you can make a nice bit of quick change if you think about it in terms of scalping. So don't be scared to take these risk managed triggers. Right, remember, that's what we're doing. Right, what do I teach, especially in core? Significant levels, price action analysis, significant levels, and then risk managed executions. Here's your significant level for now. Price action analysis are significant levels. You just need to look at the daily candle. It's telling you broke above, and then sellers attempted to get below, but buyers are defending for now. In an area they've already done so before. We already know it's yearly significance. So then, what the thesis is: buyers are in control, locally speaking. This is bullish, right? Locally speaking, and also, which side is giving you an edge? It'd be the buyers. Above this level, it'd be the buyers. It's not the sellers, right? So then, that's step number 2 done. Step number 3: take a risk managed trade based off your analysis, right? And this is one way you can do a risk managed trade. Again, if you do so more locally, you can definitely put this closer, right? If you're looking locally, then you do something like this. This is what I'd go with personally, right? To keep it a bit tighter. But whether you go with this one or you go with that wider one based on spot entries on a slightly higher time frame like the daily, that's step number 3. Take a risk managed trade, and you just do this day in and day out. That's it, right? But there you go. That is injective. So if you get above this and you hold above this, it's worth taking a shot, in my opinion. So let me go back to the chat. What's up, so? Intersections, yes sir. Intersections. I need to update my BTC ones. It's been a while since I've done that. Yeah, sure, Will. Talk soon, bro. No, I hate life. Bro, I saw you got a head injury. Okay, what happened? I saw your ping in Northstar. Well, there's someone just Brexit tackle you, bro. Just double leg, double footed, just slide.
Yo, hello?
Yo, what's up, bro?
Nah, not even. Basically, me and some other guy were running for the ball together, yeah? My head hits his shoulder, and then from the initial impact, then the back of my head hits the ground, innit?
Oh, okay.
Next thing you know, next cutscene is just me in the hospital.
Oh,
Then
shit,
I'm in a
bro.
wheelchair, and then I check my Apple Watch, and I'm like, yo, I've lost 1,700 calories. What kind of workout have I been doing?
Yeah.
And then they just do a bunch of tests and stuff like that, but they're still not more good, isn't it? But
Yeah,
it's
I was
alright.
gonna say, bro, like concussions are dangerous. Like people overlook how dangerous they can be. So
Mum's,
yeah, I'm glad
especially
you
the back
got
of the
that
head.
checked. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. I'm glad you're
But
okay,
now
bro.
all good, thanks to God. Yeah.
Yeah.
They just have to take it easy, then go to the GP next week and then see what's up. But I've done all the scans,
Yeah.
and they said yeah, I'm all good. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's good,
thanks to
bro.
God. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. When you back home?
Gonna be sometime next week, probably like the first half of next week. I want to stay until the electrics and all the renovations, and then I can leave the rest of my uncle. But gonna help him out here.
But what? What in Derby?
No, in Brighton, bro. I'm in Brighton right now.
Oh, okay.
Literally plugged my internet in before I did this. So plugged my internet in this morning, and then did this. I think we still need to do some wiring out, so I'm gonna have to take this off again after this. I just wanted to update you guys because it's been more than a week, and just in case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
no, that's good.
plugged
I'll
in.
let you get to it then.
Yeah, sure, bro. Right. Okay. Injective. Right. Hopefully, you guys can see easy to manage here. Right. Especially where you currently are. Very, very easy to manage your risk. Let's move on. We've done ETH BTC. We've looked at BTC Aptos. That's the next one. Let's take a look at Aptos. So you can go off for now. Not needed. And I need to get in. See, I'm so lazy. I put these levels on in the moment, and then I always forget what I put them on. But I mean, they work. Beautiful. Right. This is, let me just get my head on straight. Higher time frame. Okay, monthly. Yeah, okay, we have monthly buy zone based off this candle. That's the first one. Okay, and then, oh no, I remember. And then the second one is it the quarterly? Yeah, the quarterly right here. Right. So sorry, these are both quarterly candles. One quarterly buy zone there. The other one's the other quarterly buy zone here. Right. So you've rated. If you look at this on the quarterly, the Aptos speaks volumes. Right. Hang on. Yo, come on, you're telling me there's no RSI on Aptos on the 3 months. Whatever. Okay. We have the fact that the yearlies are still being respected. That's a very successful rate of the yearly, right? You went below, stopped at anyone that was long over here. Literally spin liquidity rate after liquidity rate. They're not making it easy to catch the big trade, right? So based off that daily close, that was the first entry there, right? So my on the higher time frame, that was the entry. I got a lower time frame entry off on this. Down when we hit the actual low area we were talking about, right? We said if you get below that, you just look on the lower time frame and you say, okay, where we deviated to before, we're somewhere around here. So my Aptos entry is based on that. But again, I'm not fully sized up, okay? So I'm just in with like, around 40%, I'd say, on most spot bags that I do want to buy. The big ones, still not in, just based off levels we're looking at. Trend hasn't shifted, right? The structure hasn't told me yes the bottom is in. Nothing like that's happened. We're still making lower highs and lower lows, so this could very easily go down and give me 344. So I'm just taking it very slowly. Stop losses are break even for all spot entries, right? But if you want to scalp the levels, these are what we went over last stream we did as well. Your quarterly 3 month, number one here, number two there, buy zones, right? Above that yearly, those are the two key levels I'll be looking at, because above 548 you go back towards 640 to 652. So these are all the key levels that you need here. Above this, obviously you're looking for now longs. As long as you're maintaining above this, you're looking for longs. If you close below, turn it to resistance, you're looking for shorts. Your short opportunity was again at this pump up, but obviously, like, if you're not in a short based off that, then you're not going to force a short here, right? So you either break down and then you catch a short here to lower levels, or any pullbacks you get to here, maybe you do something like this. If you keep using the support, you're looking for that run up towards 548 or something on Aptos. So that weekly candle is nothing to write home about, right? Yeah, it looks good until you realize, like, it's not even like a bullish engulfing candle or anything like this. It's just like a massive red candle, and then you partially fill that candle, or you don't even hit the top of the wick yet. You have on top of this now a seller buy zone right here, right? And then so you're just going to until you can get above this, nothing. That's it. You've hit your target. That's it, right? If you do this, great. Look for swings to the upside. You don't do that, we know what happens. Probably gonna go lower again. You're looking for range, maybe double bottom, something like this. You look for more signs of strength at the lows. Otherwise, you pump straight into resistance here. Okay. So that box there is what you need to get above. So that is Aptos. Very simple. If you're gonna do anything, I'll be waiting to look for shorts within this box here, right? So your first entry was there. Maybe we get one stab high. If you do anything like this, some sort of distributive structure, try to catch some shorts there to take it lower. Otherwise, wait for that breakdown for the short. You're only gonna long if you have sort of basically if you get back down here and you see something like this. Otherwise, I just wouldn't do anything here, right? If you're gonna do something, if you're itching for a position, you can try for spot. If you feel like you're extremely underexposed, right, you don't want to be in that feeling, I'll do something tight like this, right? 5% risk, looking to go high. Just understand this is now riskier because obviously this isn't like the actual key level. That you can always deviate around the key level, so you're trying to play a reaction rather than the actual touch itself, and also because you are underneath resistance now, so this could give you a pullback down, right? So only enter this if you're like literally itching to start building a position on spot, then you can do it. And if you lose that, just close, I'd say, right? Otherwise, I wouldn't do it. Personally, I wouldn't do anything here on Aptos. Until you flip that box, I won't do anything. APT, right, AVAX, let's take a look. Beautiful. right? Macro point of control, double bottom at the macro point of control. If you look at the weekly, you hit the area we're talking about, which is a weekly fair value gap. I believe that's why that's, no, monthly, yeah? No, hang on. Right. Why have I got this marked? Right, it must have been a weekly fair value gap then. But it can't be because I marked it down wrong. Is it 2 weeks? Swear to God, what am I doing? Why is that marked? Well, it's clearly got something to do with this wick high. So it's the same on the weekly. That wick high, great. Hello, why have I done this? It should be this. Oh, I know why I've done that. Is because originally this was the fair value gap. And then obviously once that came in, the new fair value gap was this right here. That's why. Okay, yeah, in that case we just, you know, hit the top of the fair value gap. So now what we're going to do is we're going to say that's the new fair value gap there. Okay, but yeah, double bottom, and you're currently at resistance, but AVAX looks very nice because what you're doing here is, look, your trend line basically, right, lower highs and lower lows, your trend line. You haven't shifted trend yet because your last lower high is there, but you are threatening a breakout, right? You know, scratch that. I'd say you've broken out already on the daily. Maybe not on the weekly, definitely not on the weekly, but on the daily you've already broke out. Now, can we do this on the weekly? How can this be so different on the weekly compared to the daily? I don't get it. Wait, we're just gonna draw this on the daily. 1 second. Okay, that's one. That's two. Last but not least, there's your external. So you are, I wouldn't say you're fully broken out yet because you do have a supply line higher. But above this red box, the most important thing, you have smiley face. Okay, so as long as you're above this, I think you're okay to try and play some positions to the upside. Okay, on AVAX. Because if this now does break out and it gives you a retest, so on and so forth, I'll be looking for moves up. Trend hasn't shifted, lower highs still leading to lower lows, but you're at an area where you can manage your risk to the upside. That's the important thing, right? Keep your risk management tight. You can try for all the plays you want long, as long as you are above this zone on AVAX. Based on the daily, if the daily were to close like this, let's say, you know, confirmation opens there, how would you do this? I would personally do it like this. I do not want bigger than a 10% stop loss or something. Actually, no, that's fine. I'd do that. Okay, for spot, this is what I'd be doing. And this isn't a full entry either. So if I'm going with a 10% risk, I'm going in with about 30%. Out of 20, 40, 40, it's going to be 30. So you have 35% to size up with as a DCA, or if local resistance gets flipped to support, and you'd have the remaining 35% to add when the actual trend shifts. Right now, I've already got my initials in on AVAX. Like I've been saying, my main Bitcoins are Sol, ETH, AVAX. If I was to talk in terms of market cap, it's those three, right? And of course, there's Ondo. After that, there's Ondo. Basically, all the ones Ondo say, these ones say Aptos, but they're not as high of a market cap as like AVAX or Sol is, right? So my top three that's not Bitcoin is ETH, AVAX, and Ethereum. Sorry, ETH, Sol, and AVAX, right? So these three, I'm not gonna miss an opportunity to get in anytime there's a discount. But if I was entering fresh, this is how I'd do it here. Okay, this would be how I do it, because you've accounted for deviations, right? And you know, you can close before your 10% hits if you start getting a loss of the mid. If you lose that mid, then I'll just close and just enter if you get above the mid of this buy zone again, right? But as long as you're above the mid of the buy zone, I think you're good to try and play AVAX to the upside. I mean, we could take out all of these and then we'll have one more flush. It could happen, right? So I wouldn't want anyone to miss out on a move like that, because you're like too cautious at these areas. Above this zone, at the end of the day, just, you know, again, key levels and price action, risk management. Key level, you're above it, buy showing an edge as long as you're above. The daily hasn't closed yet. We might close, if you close below, invalid. But as long as you're closing above, especially the mid, you can try for a position. You're not going to fully position, right? If for a spot, you're not going to fully position here straight away. But this is where you enter and you look for the trend shift to get higher. Right, that's it. So AVAX, notice where you are. You've hit 886s, okay? Macro 886. From that to that, that's your macro 886 of this impulse up. So now you've got all of these harmonics on the macro that could potentially take you back to the upside on AVAX. Just understand where you are, okay? That's why I'm saying you don't have to go all in at once. Realistically, if what you're trying to capture is moves like this, right, minimum T2, which is between 97 to 109 in my opinion. Now, of course, now you can argue for all sort of wave structures, right? So you've got, where is it? One sec. I've got different wave structures here. What have I got it under? I've got it under current harmonic. So we have not this, not this, not this. In fact, hang on, let's do this on a fresh chart. AVAX. Here, let me turn all of this off. Do you know what? Just get off my screen. I'm just going to do this. I'm going to go ahead and at some point I'll do key inflection areas for AVAX as well. But in terms of wave structure, okay, first of all, your macro wave structure back to the upside is from here down to here, up to here. There's your 886. It does not get better than that, okay? So just based off that fact, in my opinion, spot should already be bought. Okay, don't think you are the macro 886. You need a better reason than that to at least start, slurping on some spot, right? So my extension target, and there's no guarantees that's going to happen this cycle. This is a wave structure that could be completed next cycle, okay? We could do something like this, come down and do something like that by 2030. Who knows? But I wouldn't be surprised if AVAX does get back towards $131 based off this at some point. Right, there we go. There, okay. Next, we have, what's the next peak? The next peak's over here. So we're just gonna we just go peak to peak. That's it, right? The 86 isn't gonna change. That's gonna be the same. There we go. And then this goes to the 886 as well. Right, again, bearish bad, target 113.79. It might seem like a pipe dream, but it's always like that. Even Farcoin, even just 2-3 weeks ago, let's say actually starts of March, right? Because we were talking about Farcoin for ages, especially when all those ABCDs popped up. Did it not seem like a pipe dream that thing with 300%? But then it does so within a matter of a couple of weeks. But that's the thing about the markets. It looks impossible until it's not, because you get met with 50% green dildos over the weekend, right? Once things get crazy. So that's number 2. Next, the peak is this one. Now we're getting more conservative. Now with this peak here, right, you're no longer talking in terms of a bat. You are talking in terms of a, hopefully you guys can see, what's this closest to? A 618. So that would be a Gartley for me. This is what I want Ethereum to do, right? Give us the macro 886. It's crazy that Alts are giving it to us before Ethereum is. Here. So in this instance here, the first thing I'd be looking for is a Gartley, right? So I'd be looking for that 0.786. But if you ever get above the Gartley, then you have the chance to, at some point, turn this. Now this is, of course, now like very, very deep extensions. But if it's a 618, remember, it's within the realms of a crab. Okay, so first target Gartley, second target crab with this one. Okay. So now this is if AVAX ever goes to rate the highs. 162.32 is a target that wouldn't be out of the question, right? If we ever got above the B point. But for now, let's play it more conservative. I'm not telling you guys AVAX is going to go to $170 this cycle. It might not. I don't know, right? Anyone telling you with confidence is chatting out their ass, because no one knows. Best we can do is just read price action. So 786 for now. There you go, right? That is a conservative target for AVAX. 886s have been hit. If it gets below this, I would full on expect just rates, right? I would expect AVAX down to 3 or something, or double bottom. Sharks are the only thing possible after this. But you now have 3 wave structures taking you to higher and higher and higher targets, right? And don't forget, why is this also significant? This is significant because based off that low to that high to that low to that to that, you are still within your type 2 of this wave structure right here, okay? Of your bat that has been created all the way over here lock that in place. Settings, coordinates, it's $17 that we're talking about. Okay, go here. Let me remind you guys why the price action on AVAX is so good, or rather the structure on AVAX is so good. Here's your macro BAT 0.886. What have we got? We've got your PRZ, right? It came down. You had some chop around the PRZ. Don't forget, this was a multi-year structure. This is 2020 all the way through to 2-year structure, right? So this is what I mean, like with harmonics, how long the harmonic took, like, will dictate how much are you going to allow chop around here. That's the way I do it, right? If you took 2 years to actually complete the harmonic, don't expect reversals within a day. Could happen, it might not, right? Give it some time. You came, you never completely violated this, okay? You chopped, you created a falling wedge, you had ABCDs. Hang on. Let me make sure I'm not chatting shit first. I'm pretty sure you had ABCDs here. It's not going to be in terms of this, because that's going to not be deep enough. Or rather, there is this, right? So you didn't quite get the 2.0, we were very close to it. You hit the 1.94, right? 2.0 was down over here, so you got very close to the 2.0. So you had ABCDs here, valid ABCDs, right? You had the macro M shape, falling wedge, aggressive selling going on, not being rewarded. You had your buy seller zones, historical price ranges, whatever you wanted, right? Then you broke above, confirmed it to be support, the 886, the actual PRZ area, confirmed it to be support, and then went higher. Note, another thing you have here is the BAT can be anywhere between a 1.618 and a 2.618, right? So in this case, obviously, I'm going to mark it down, but just as a quick tip for harmonics, don't just focus on your macro retracement. These extensions also have a role to play. In this case, obviously, it wouldn't, right? Because you'd go into negative territory. But in general, right, as a rule of thumb, don't just focus on this number, okay? Your PRZ is a collection, right? It's a convergence of all these fib ratios, so your extension also plays a role for your PRZ. But in this case, we're specifically focused on the 886, right? You broke above, used it as support, right? What did you do after you did that? You went and you hit your terminal 1. Okay, if I switch back over here, there you go. There's your T1 zone. Okay. Now, of course, Mr. Scott Carney, you know what he says is T1. That's the 382. I've got my own system. If you guys know what I think about the 382, my shallow retracement, golden pocket plus liquidity rate, that's what I'm using as the T1 zone. Okay. You hit the T1, came back down, right? And in this case, you basically put an inverted smiley face, not around the T1 itself, but you had yearly levels, right? That's where you put the inverted smiley face around before you went lower. But after you hit the T1, what did you do? You came back down. What is this? You guys were familiar with this. Is a type 2 return. Where was the type 2 return to? Exactly to that macro BAT 886. Extremely beautiful candle, right? That gave you that move back. This was the reason I was telling everyone get AVAX back in 2024, right? My harmonic entry videos, AVAX was one of the biggest ones. I was talking about saying get AVAX for that reason, right? You went up, you put on the lower high, it's what it is, right? We're not saying T2 is going to hit straight away. Doesn't matter. Aggressive buying came in, wasn't rewarded. You've gone back down, straight back to that area again. And that is still the area where you're bouncing off of. So as a line in the sand, if you want a completely unpolluted AVAX chart, that one level, 17.53, is all you need on your screen. As long as you are above this, you are on the upper portion of your type 2 retest of your PRZ. As long as you're above this, you're saying type 1, type 2, harmonic extremes, they're all valid targets. The B points of your BAT's going to take you to 75.50, which again would, you know, between that, for example, between 75.50 and 83.31, you've got a nice TP1 for any swing you get into here anyway, right? Because you're hitting the midpoint of your bullish BAT, you're hitting the bearish Carly. So if sellers step in there now, you're going to take some profits, hedge some shorts, and if you flip it, you get stopped out on your shorties, whatever, because you've got a bag running from $17. So that is free money anyway. Right? So AVAX, please, this is when I say on the higher time frame, don't lose sight of where you are. This is what I mean, right? And again, this is what price action analysis is all about. It's not just as simple as saying, oh, we rejected, we reclaimed. That is the foundations of what I teach you. But price action, the more you do this, the more you guys spend time with me, right? The more you guys spend time just charting on your own, you start to get more nuanced read like this. That flip there was the key thing here. You've confirmed, right? Because you went deviated. That is confirmation. Look, 886. Yes, that's like no hesitation. That's just a solid stamp of approval. Boom, 886. We're interested. We're gonna take it. That is where you've gone to. That is what you're still holding. right? So if you get below this, sure, you can get out of any longs or anything like that till you get above to manage your risk to reward. But above this, just understand, right? Above 1753, you have all of this to gain, and just even where we currently are, you have all of this to gain versus just that to lose. So you decide who's showing you an edge where we currently are, where is risk better managed where we currently are, because you've got your significant levels on your screen. Okay, this is an unpolluted chart because otherwise my normal chart for AVAX is a bit more polluted. There's a lot of yearly levels to put down on AVAX because the price action is really clean, it's balanced, right? But like I said, even macro point of control, right? Macro point of control on Binance, double bottom, flipped. As long as you're above the macro point of control, you should definitely not be in a short. Below macro point of control, sure, short all you want, right? But above, you shouldn't be looking for any swing shorts above the macro point of control, especially when you just bounced off it, right? So obviously, if you now go all the way up to value area high, sure, it makes sense to try and look for some shorts there if you see weakness, but not here. You're just treating that as support now, right? So I think AVAX, absolutely amazing. And I'm going to be telling you guys this constantly, right? You do not need to be in 15, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100, 200 different positions, okay? If you get overwhelmed easily, if you know you cannot manage your big position sizes, literally 5, 3 to 5, 5 to 10, you do not need more than that in terms of positioning. Okay, but AVAX is a fantastic one on the higher time frame in my opinion to put into play, because should you get above this, like I said, your next target is going to be all the way up there, right? And for example, your A to C, the next TP target would be all the way up here. You know, you've got not this one, but that one lines up with that TP target, right? So yeah, you've got a lot of reasons to think AVAX does eventually go higher on the higher time frame. Just don't lose sight of where we are, please, because clearly someone is interested in AVAX, right? This is being bid anytime it gets to these lows. Now, if you were getting here and there was no bids coming in, the 86 wasn't even regarded as support, it slid straight through, I would not be telling you this, because we would not be getting this price action, this structure, but we are, right? So we're just gonna react to that. Is this based off logs, bro? Yeah, come on. Honestly, log fibs are going to be, it's so good, especially for scalping. People always look at me weird when I say I use log to scalp, because people normally, I mean, not many people use log anyway, but people who do normally use it for higher time frame. But using log for scalping is a cheat code, it's so good. Yeah, come on, bro. Yeah, 3 cents uptrend, come on. Okay. So that's AVAX. Let's run through a few more. Say, like I said, say, what did I say? If you lose that level on say, right? We're gonna get to that. If you lose the macro 886, right? When I say that level, that's what we're talking about. Where's it gone? There. That macro shark, basically the white box, the 86 on say, what I was saying was if you lose that or you turn into resistance, expect, firstly, that's like losing a key inflection area, so you expect the mid of your historical price range lower. That's right here. That would also line up with the 1.13 is what we said. Okay, look at the last recording I sent out here. There's literally, we talked about this last time, right? So we've got that 1.13. I am in a safe position from down over here. I've not sized up, obviously, trend is still to the downside. We're currently at resistance, right? But if you do start flipping this to support and doing this, I'm just going to slowly trickle in. That's it. At this point, like, you know, I'm not even thinking about, oh, tight risk management, where we currently are, and literally just in terms of seasonality, for spot, I'm thinking about saying, okay, this either basically goes down and loses macro structure, or I'm just going to hold, right? At this point, I'm not even worried about, like, you know, tight stop losses or anything on my spot bags, because how much more are we going to keep going down is the question. If you do not think the cycle top is in, and for me, I know I keep saying this, I do not think the cycle top is in, right? So I'm going to plan according to that. If you don't think the cycle top is in, at some point it doesn't make sense to all of a sudden fret about how tight is your stop loss. For spot, higher time frame, macro, like swing entries, right? So from this point on, for spot bids, it's just about, okay, do I think we're going to drop another 50% on all? So I think we can have a pullback, sure, which is why I'm not fully positioned, but I'm also not going to be now entering here thinking, oh, if it loses this, I'm going to cut, right? Yeah, I'll put my stop loss at break even, but I'm not going to have super tight stop losses or anything. Everything's going to be manually done from here on out. Because I don't want to be wicked out on some stupid liquidity grab here only to miss the bottom, you know, get chopped out for no reason, lose my purchasing power, and then just shoot off, right? So say that was my entry. Now again, if you missed that, it's okay, because if you lose this red box, you're gonna get that double bottom there, in my opinion. But that 1.13, very, very nice. That can give us a shark all the way back up towards potentially like $1 even, right? So even it doesn't matter if you missed the bottom, because even from where we currently are, that is still going to be a 526% increase in price, right? And this isn't even going to new highs or anything like this. Okay, so this is for a full-blown bull market. This isn't even like, you know, anything outrageous. So that's that on say we've got 20 cents as 2024 12-month buy zone low. At the end of the day, below that, you know, if you turn that to resistance, you're going to go lower again. So let's see what happens. But say now, just understand, if the bottom isn't already in, it's very close in my opinion, right? If not, like, I think this might just have been the bottom. So we'll see how this develops. But 1.13, I just don't see, like, you know, yeah, it could go a bit lower, right? I'm not saying it can't, but there's no point expecting just either the lows or the highs to take a trade, right? Sometimes you've got to be nuanced and see, okay, consolidation range in the past, buy stepped in, 1.13 extension has been hit, everything was you know, crashing, right? But S&P bounced back, tariff wars, so on and so forth. But ultimately, all of that is to push the price lower. Who's going to be buying down here? It's not going to be retail. It's not going to be the people who got scared and ran off. It's going to be the people left over, and the people left over are typically the people who gave you that bearish news in the first place on your screens, right? So say an amazing area in my opinion. Yeah. So let's see how this develops. Again, many things are currently at resistance, right? So I'm not saying long say. If you want right over here, if you want, you're going to do some, again, tight risk longs, something like this, right? If you're going to long now, you need to daily close above that macro shark 886. If that happens, sure, I'd long like this. You can do it below this if you want. That's 12%, so it's up to you. But I'd definitely put it below this, around 6%, and even up to here. That's a valid trade, right? You're not even, you know, it's not like you're asking for 500% return straight. You're literally asking for a 67% pump, which for a low, I don't know if it's a low cap or what. For a coin like say, that's very doable, right? For a trade. And then you just size up. This is for leverage, by the way, right? For spot, of course, I'm not going to be TPing here. For spot, I'm either going to ride it back to break even, right? Or I'll open a hedge here, but I'm not closing my spot entries from down here over here. That's just going to ruin my average. For spot, always have the big picture in mind. Unless you're specifically like, you know, using your spot back to trade for some reason, right? In which case, that's fine. But that's say. So notice that 1.13 has been hit. That's your extension. So now if you get extension to reclaim, smiley faces, now we're talking. Now we have structure we can base entries off of, right? Price action, candlesticks, and then structure on top. Like, you know, you're just increasing the probability of the trade going your way. SUI, I mean, you've retested what was on resistance as support, very, very clean. But you're below your OG range, like, you know, below this level basically. I'm not interested. Above this, you've got a clean flip of this into support. We take a ride back up towards $3.18, right? But below this, when you're doing this, nah. So I want to see something like this above, right? This, that's where you enter here, not here. And if anything you're going to do here, it's going to be looking for shorts, because again, risk to reward wise, shorts make more sense here than longs, right? In terms of leverage trading, scalping. Above this, that's when longs would make more sense to now take it to that next level up there. Not interested. Ondo. Now, this is another one I wanted to mention. Ondo hit with. This is another one. This one, I was so happy when I was looking at this on my phone. What was I saying? This is why I told you guys to split Ondo into 3 distinct PRZs. PRZ number 1, we said was here. PRZ number 2, we said was right over here. Look where you bounced off on Ondo. Right? Exactly at the second PRZ. Again, this isn't like, you know, rocket science. We just have our key areas. We realize our initial area is way too big, right? Between, you know, we're saying consolidation range between 87 cents to 50 cents. Right? That's a 30-cent difference. That's a big margin. I'm not gonna ask any of you to try and DCA within a 42% margin. That's just, you know, that's what someone who is not confident in your TA does, right? Because yeah, 42% range is still within our parameters. We can hold for now, so on and so forth. No, we had 3 distinct zones, right? Zone 1 we hit first, we bounced, right? And then we gave inverted smiley face. We analyzed all this. So what I said was, if you ever lose this as support, right, just hopefully if you did enter, what you do is you get stopped out at break even. But if you enter here and then you get stopped out, it's for hardly anything, and your next entry is immediately going to be below here, 68 cents to 66 cents, right? So my current Ondo spot is at 69 cents entry. Okay, 40% entered, 60% still in cash, right? And I've also got a swing and a scalp to swing trade going on this, just like with Farcoin. Right? I've got all 3 going on this one because risk management on this couldn't have been simpler, right? Especially when you see that daily close, If you get below this, that's it. You enter on the consolidation. If you get below this, you cut. We haven't got below it yet. And now you're trying to flip the consolidation range into support. If that is successful, you've also broken out from your downtrends, right? Both in terms of macro and in terms of even local. So like I said, the only thing keeping you down right now is your 6 month. So if you get above 92 cents, this thing has nothing holding it back. Okay, I would expect 120 and then higher and higher. Right? Unless you, of course, if you reject it, you're going to be looking for scalp the swing mindset short, so on and so forth. You guys know how to hedge. But all you're waiting for is this. Right, the thing holding us back is the 6 month, 2024 6 month. This is the July to December, right? Macro read bar zone mid. That is the only thing that is holding us back. So if you're not in Ondo already, you just wait for a flip at that level, or you wait for a pullback towards here, right? Because what I'm really hoping for a big size up, if you get it, is a smiley face at this. If you get that smiley face there, this will literally be price action you cannot ignore, right? So let's see what happens. But either basically flip this and I'm going to size up, or get the smiley face, I'm going to size up. If you're looking for fresh trades, don't worry if you're not in, okay? Does not matter, because again, like I'm saying, Ondo, I'm expecting breaks this, goes to new highs, right? Goes to new highs. So for example, let's give ourselves some targets, right? So these are our we got 1.13. Actually no, let's not even talk about that. We made a new low. So let's delete this and this. Can't be asked. Let's do it here. Right. Firstly, in terms of macro, what do we have? ABCDs. Here's your low. Here's your high. That was a 618. You topped out of the 1.618. Okay. 618 is right over here. Was it respected? Hell yeah, it was. Right. Because if you hover over the 618, you can see support, 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 and then you went higher. Right, so where your top out was the 1.618. There you go. That was your top. Right. This one is now done. So now what we have is your B point is here. Your C point currently is over here. What do we have? Not 745. 0.7, i.e. that is a 0.702. So valid retracement, right? Because we know 702, 707 is your golden pocket liquidity rate. So this is a liquidity rate, front run of a liquidity rate in this case anyway, of your deep extension. Oh, no, sorry, your deep golden pocket. Reciprocal ratio for that is the 1.414. So for the next leg up, you wouldn't be surprised by $2.76 Ondo, right? You wouldn't be surprised at all if you got by that. And again, in a full-blown bull market, these are going to get smashed past. Okay, you don't typically top out at 1.414 in a full-blown bull market. You go to your 1.618s, 2.618s, 3.618s, so on and so forth, right? So even in this scenario, that is still a 209% gain. Amazing gain to be had. Okay, you put 10k in there, you're walking out with 30k, right? So an amazing one to watch. And of course, we'll be analyzing more wave structures if they show themselves. So let's see, is there any right now? I don't think there is. I don't think there's any. No, not there. So what about something like this? No, nothing yet in terms of W shapes. I'm not going to force anything on just for the sake of it. But in terms of a macro wave structure, even you have this going for you, right? So Ondo, I think absolutely amazing. If you if a smiley face comes in, or that local resistance, i.e. your 6 month macro read buy zone mid gets flipped to support, this goes higher. Okay, just wait for that flip or wait for that retest. Don't get in yet. If you want, you're gonna scalp some shorts as long as you're below this level. Okay, but again, keyword scalp. Don't try to open any swing shorts thinking you're gonna get it to 61 cents, because that might not happen. Scalp, scalp the swing mindset on any shorts you do enter. But that's Ondo. Hype, another one. What did we say? Below that key level, 786 is next, right? We hit the 786 and then we bounced back up, right? So I'm again, that's the next. We talked about this last stream we did. I literally just over a week ago now, before I went. But 786 hit, right? 9.56. We hit that, so that entry failed, and now we've just got that move back up. So what are we doing here? The key thing is we are not above. We're not out of the woodworks yet, right? So let's turn this, not that. Let's turn this off, right? Hopefully you can see you have a very, very nice the potential here is amazing. The potential is unparalleled for a godly accumulative structure, right? A specific version of a smiley face we're all familiar with, called the head and shoulders. If we get it, it's going to be here. There we go, right? So weekly seller zone, right? Your neckline is right there, right? Because if you look to the left, of course, that's support resistance too. We can see that. So initial resistance, there's going to be your neck, there's your left shoulder head. So if you get any sort of pullbacks back to this zone for a smiley face, you bid there. Otherwise, you just wait for a flip of this and then you ride this higher. That's it. Right, but I really hope we get this, because that now would be absolutely amazing. That'd be a godsend. If that came down and it held, that'd be amazing. If not, and you come down and turn this to resistance, this time round I'd expect, if you lose 956, I'll be doing bids next at $6.26, the 886. Right, but that is hype. Wyckoff coming into play here. Right, Doge, I don't think we got the 886, to be honest. Yeah, no, we front ran it. It's a shame. I really wanted the 886. I had a limit for the 886, which did not get filled. Okay, it just didn't get filled. So it's a shame, because, you know, that's just a piss take. But it does not matter, because again, we're back at 2021 12-month seller zone. No, if we flip this, I'll enter. If we don't, we might come back down for, I don't know, smiley face. Maybe the final 86 tap, something like this. Doesn't matter, right? If we flip this, I'll enter there. Otherwise, I'll be patient, and maybe we do still get the 86 tap in the future after all. So we'll see. But it doesn't matter what alts you're looking at, right? Oh, and you know, there's so many different alts you can look at. We're just focused on the main ones, right? The reason I don't go and do 50 different, 100 different altcoin videos for you guys is so that, firstly, it's a waste of time for everyone. If you're not going to be entering 100, why do you need 100 charted? Just focus on some ones that have good utility, that have actually use cases, that have a shot and making it, and just chart those, right? You don't need to sit there wasting time charting shit like, who knows, Trias or T-Loss, right? Some random shit. Like, we don't need to chart those, right? So a few more to top it off. LDO, what's this doing? 2.618 got tapped. Again, what did I say? I said below the 886 of the bat, right? Your PRZ, remember, was not just the 886, and this is what we're talking about. For a bat, your retracement is the 886, sure, but your B to D extension is allowed between the 1.618 to the 2.618, right? So that 2.618 there wasn't out of the question. That is why we marked that down. It lined up with your textbook demand zone on the weekly, so that got tapped. Okay. Now, it doesn't matter, again, if you didn't enter here, like, you know, it does not matter. Starter position here, that'll make your life a bit easier, but that does not mean that this is a shit entry at all. This is the entry we were vying for literally earlier. So if you go here, do that, you're still going to have an amazing shot at getting an entry. Don't worry. I'm just mentioning this to you so that you guys can, it's brought to the forefront of your mind to at least take a look at these charts yourself as well that we're going over. Okay. So that is LDO. And do we have any? No, we don't have any extensions. It's okay. LDO. So either wait for a, you know, maybe you do something like this, because I don't like the fact that we front ran 2021 12-month buyers on low. I would have loved for like something like this to happen, right? So maybe we still get it. If not, just wait for that, right? You flip that back into support. At the end of the day, are you really going to be complaining if you zoom out at this little piddle? You know, you're not, because you're trying to secure this, if possible, right? So just have that in perspective. Just understand we are at the PRZ. Right, the PRZ was never just the 886, right? It's the area between the 886 and the 2.618 in this particular case. OP, not much interest here at OP. Above this, sure. If you get a pullback now towards, you know, 0.658 and it's a clean flip, sure. Otherwise, I'd be looking at this. The weekly is probably not going to give you anything. So if this weekly closes above and you get a pullback here, that's the entry on OP. Yeah. Here. This is where you want structure to come in. This yellow box. Not interested. Not interested. Not interested. AVAX looked at. Pal. Cetus. Let's look at this. Cetus still holding its 886. Right. This was absolutely so strong. Very, very strong. I'm still in my Cetus play. This is my DeFi coin, remember. Again, Aptos and Sui, which are both coins I think are going to do really well. It's going to be the DEX for those two, right? So again, currently there's a seller zone, buy zone right here, buy/seller zone. Right, as long as you're above that, you can try and, if the daily closes like this, if the weekly closes like this, whatever it opens at, you're going to put your stop loss. I mean, easier said than done here, to be honest. 10%. Too much chop. Actually, if I'm going to do this here, I'd want to keep it tight. I'd say do something like this. Yeah. Might as well cut for the Carly, something like this. Yeah. Conservative to like actual plays, right? But something like that on Cetus if you maintain above. Otherwise, wait for that pullback. I mean, to be honest though, where you currently are, yeah, you're not going to enter all here. Remember, this is 20 40 40, right? So for here 7%, I'd say 30% entry is good, right? And then you start flipping this to support. That is where you slowly size up, building an average out to try and take it to the highs. Okay. Cetus, ENA. Now what did we say? It was eventually we are going to hit this. That's what we talked about on ENA, right? What we said was eventually we do expect this level to get hit. It hit last week. We hit the ABCD 3.618. We hit the BAT 886 and the Shark 886, and we also went to, that is standard deviation. Which one is it? I'm not sure actually. I think that's the macro. No, I think that's just standard deviation 1. Yeah, that's just standard deviation 1. So macro value area low. Literally front run the macro value area low. Right? So again, ENA, is this where you would enter? No. Right? You're not just going to enter blindly below 2024. It's very subtle. Close above that would go a long way. Right? Close above 0.333. You can try to look for longs to the upside, but ultimately, remember, until we manage to do this and get above the macro point of control, ENA is not going anywhere. So again, don't fret if you missed this entry, because the move is only going to happen above this level. Anything below is noise. And yes, you can build positions up at that noise, but that doesn't mean you're going to get a shit trade above. If you manage to get a entry here, at the end of the day, that's still going to be buying the lows of the ENA. That's where you want to be in before the impulse moves up. Doesn't matter where. Before the impulsive candles is where you want to be positioned, right? So ENA as well on alert, right? So these are all the coins we've gone over today. All of them, just have them in a watch list, right? And then just look at them daily if you have to, right? Just quick glance, spacebar, but just make sure you understand what each one is doing. And of course, even out of all the ones I've given you, I'm not saying go into all of them. Okay, choose the ones you like the look of and just enter those. But these are the coins that I believe, like, they have a shot at doing well in the upcoming bull. Right, ENA, Toncoin, right? Literally, what we'll be saying last time, I said if you could get a visit back to this area for a smiley, that'd be great. Like, we've got the visit back, and for now you're below some the consolidation range high, right? So I'm not going to enter. I wouldn't enter anything below the consolidation range high over here, locally speaking. If you start closing above this, however, that's a different story. You can enter there, right? Candle body closes above. You just put your stop loss below that deviation that you've had, and then you then try to ride it up towards now, like breakouts, basically, right? Because that'd be a smiley face. So that'd be Toncoin, right? If you lose that, right, especially this red box, which was the initial entry, if you lose that, then I think the 886 is possible. And I wouldn't complain if I got the 886. That'd be even better entry at the end of the day, right? If alts aren't done dumping. But yeah, Toncoin are very interesting areas too. Just bear in mind, for Ton, think smiley, right? Just think, how does that smiley look when the weekly close happens later, when the daily close happens, and enter accordingly, according to your risk management. Because at these areas, risk management, again, your risk management is going to be based around that deviation that you've had below that consolidation range high, right? Right there, that wick from December 2022. XMR, still one of the most bullish coins there is, in my opinion, in terms of structure. Don't need to go above this. Very, very clean. I'm just holding my XMR. I'm not going to do anything with it. Just forget about it, literally. Put it in a locker, forget about it. And LTC, same thing, right? On the higher time frame, forget about it. Buy some spot, forget about it, is what I'm thinking about these. So anything to go over? Not really. Maker, still doing well, right? This one hasn't. Came back down to your, here, smiley face. Talked about this before too. Smiley face between 2023 and 17-18, 12-month seller zone low, right? There's your smiley face. But you're once again at resistance. So again, you don't do anything here, right? If you miss this, you don't do anything here. If you see sellers showing strength, you try for a short. Your risk to reward is going to be better in that regard. Otherwise, you wait for this cluster to get flipped. Because you can see historic price action says this is the zone that needs to get flipped here, right? Take a look at that. So you want to see something like this if you're going to enter here now. The entry was here. Now you're going to want to see something like this before you enter. Okay, wait for that trigger. Gone over Farcoin. Don't care about not. Don't really care about dots. Actually, wait, no, I do care about dot. That is beautiful. Look, that's what we were waiting for, right? Dot has raided its lows from 2020. That is very significant. Okay, if this closes above like this, literally, you don't have to go all in. But like, I never ever go all in. When I say that, obviously, I'm never gonna go all in. But it would. You don't even need to overthink this. Dot, just enter your initial entry, whatever, however much you're comfy holding, right? Just enter it simply based off the fact you have successfully raided those lows. It's a swing, okay? Because if that holds now, you've raided all liquidity to the downside. Below this, the only thing you've got left to raid is literally like, you know, $1.49. If you think it's gonna go, that's what it is. But invalidation is super easy, right? You close the weekly above like this, you have one of the easiest spot entries I've actually seen in stream so far today. Because look at that and tell me that is hard to manage. It's not. It could not be easier to manage, in fact, for DOT. Okay. So if you guys are unsure about what spot entry you want, DOT, I'm telling you right now, one of the easiest ones to manage. You could easily manage Polkadot here. So that's one. Tara, right? Like I said, we got Tara low, right? We didn't hit the actual raid, right? But we hit the PRZ again. So I'm in Tara. I'm opening a swing trade on this on Mexi. So on Tara, if we get below this, my stop is a break even. So if we get back down, I get stopped out, and if it's a successful, like, you know, raid, I'll just re-enter, right? Otherwise, I really want that raid still. Otherwise, I'm in Tara, right? Look, I don't need to tell you why. It's a low cap play for me, so this is one of my DGen plays. But 786, 886, right? Never lost. You have a macro bat on that 886, and therefore your next target, if we then break out from here, and especially if you ever get over that B point, right, is going to be ultimately the 1.272. So you have a chance of riding this all the way up 1000%, 10x. You're looking at a 10x in front of you. Is it guaranteed 10x? No, but are there indicators telling us it could? Yes, right? So that's why Tara, same area, we got the tap, so I've started my position. Again, you don't need to be all in here. You can size up, especially with low caps. Please manage your risk. It's not the same as throwing some money into BTC or ETH. Okay, this thing will nuke you, you know, like, you know, 53% without hesitation, right? All in a day's work, and then we'll wake up 100% afterwards. Like, it does not care. So just please be wary of that. Trading low caps is a completely different ballpark to, like, you know, normal trading. But that's Tara. Nia, below this, Nia, I'm not interested, right? You're currently treating the butterfly as resistance. Like, you know, if you start doing this, smiley faces, then I'll be more interested in this. But for now, where we currently are, I'm not seeing the signs of strength that I would want to be seeing on Nia now. Yeah, that's that. I just get above that, put a smiley face in at the 27224, so on and so forth. It looks good, otherwise it doesn't, right? That's Nia. Last but not least, we have Pepe and Tia, right? Pepe, same structure. Pepe holding like a champ, okay? Look at this. Macro 886 on the weekly basis. Sellers trying to take control, but they're not successful in doing so. So again, for Pepe, now this is going to be really, really wide, right? Either you're going to have to wait for that. Again, this is the same thing I said last time I streamed. I said either wait for that tab back to the 886, which we've been given, right? Or now you're just going to have to take a swing play, right? So we got the tap of the 886 again. So if you missed that entry too, then the only option you have right now is to once again wait for the tap of the 886, right? Or if you really want, you can do this, right? Spot entry here, right? 30%. Unless you think you can manage down leverage, it's completely up to you. But I'll just be thinking with a higher time frame perspective in mind now, right? So you get below this, you can cut. Count for some historical deviations, so on and so forth. 31 to 34% risk basically. But you are playing for B point, you are playing for range extremes, and potentially even new highs should, you know, enough liquidity flow into Pepe. Again, you'd be 20-40-40ing this, okay? You're not going to be 100% entering here. 20-40-40. So 30% away stops, yeah. 32, I wouldn't go in with more than 20-25% initial, and you're going to size up on now local strength. Treat it with that respect it deserves when it comes to building a higher time frame position out. And last but not least, if you look at Tia, same thing, right? Tia rated those lows, but don't forget where Tia is. It is also at your macro shark 886, right? The 86 is right there, right? So it's obviously we've gone past the 2.24. That's what it is, right? But the 86 is also a valid retracement. So below this, like for a leverage trade, I'm not interested. But in a spot now, once again, something like this is as simple to manage. Again, wait for the daily close, right? But something like this is what I'd be looking for a spot entry. 20-40-40 again, okay? You're not going all in here. As as tempting as it is to just chuck everything you have in here, 20, 40, 40, on the long run you thank me. Okay, but TIA, another old way you can now manage your risk very, very easily. Apart from that, you have coins like, you know, Filecoin, which you've looked at, right? Filecoin, range lows, but still, like literally below standard deviation 2 on fill, right? Below standard deviation 2. So I'd wait for a reclaim at some of these levels. You're below all key levels, right? 20% here won't hurt, but you're not going to put more than that because I want to be above key structure before you put any more money in. CRV, we talked about this one. I'm in this. We talked about how the 886 has hit. We talked about a pullback to the diagonal would be great if we got it, right? We got that. We got the smiley face we talked about last stream. So that was my entry, and now we're back up, right? So CRV, we're currently at 2020, 2023 yearly levels. Above this, look, what you have here, the reason we marked this out because we'd have literally perfect head and shoulders, okay? So if this is your neckline right here, if this is flipped into support, minimum in terms of this, you're saying you're going towards, basically back towards that diagonal, 86 cents, right? So if the daily closes like this, you can try something like this on CRV, okay, if you're not in. But this is now a bit riskier because, again, this can pull back a bit and it still be fine, right? So just be wary with your risk management on this one. But CRV, like, you know, what I'd personally do is I'll probably wait to get above 6264 as well before I enter. I don't see the point of entering between zones. Just wait for a close above and just try to trade that momentum break, right? Tight managed. But yeah, that is CRV. Looks absolutely fantastic. But that is, if I take a look, JTO, have we hit the Gartley? Where did I talk about the Gartley? Was it here? I don't think we've hit it, but just in case, let me check. There we go. No, we haven't hit it. No, we haven't. I don't know if we've all hit it. If we do get one more dump, I will. But then again, this chart isn't exactly looking bullish right now, right? So I'd wait to get above that for obvious reasons before getting into JTO if you're not already in. Above that, sure. But otherwise, this Gartley would be absolutely fantastic if we got it. 786. Basically this zone here, right? Something like that. Any sort of bottoming size of this zone, you're going to bid there to try and take this to the upside. Because when Solana runs, JTO, Tube, so on and so forth will run along with it. Link, that's the other one I gave you guys. Link, I put this in the, yeah, so we put it in the 886, right? So I put the Link one over here. I hope you don't got any on JTO, and Link right here, right? The 886, put this just before I left. Yeah, so we hit that, right? The 3-day order block held, right? The 86 held, so the structure was there, so I'm in Link, right? So we have that bat, and now it's reacted. Currently at resistance, but if we can now, you know, above the mid, this has a chance to now go back up to the highs, right? So Link looks good. Link looks really, really good. So all of these, again, if you missed it, it's what it is. It's not like you missed you missed like this low. Doesn't mean you missed the trade, okay? You could get this and this for all you know, or you could do something like this, double bottom go. You could do a raid to reclaim and go. We don't know, right? If you get those opportunities, capitalize on them. If not, just look for just understand that on the daily, you know, you've got bullish divergence that's paired with the 886. Nothing much on the weekly. You've got 3-day bullish divergence as well, so you know you're just waiting for that trend shift at the end of the day now, right? Because if the trend doesn't shift, there's no guarantees this doesn't get taken out. But if you can get above 1274, right? That's what I'm trying to say. Because why did we mark this down? I believe it's because we said this is a supply zone, right? That's exactly it. You're flipping supply zone into support here, right? But at the end of the day, if the daily closes like this now, okay, if the daily closes below 13.18, whatever this is, you also have a short opportunity for perhaps a re-entry at a flush before we go higher. Okay, so just keep that in mind too. Keep in mind where you are. Keep in mind that you do have opportunities to the downside, just like you had an opportunity to the upside here. So just have significant levels on, read price action. That way you're never ever going to be hesitant about a trade. You'll never miss a trade, right? Because if you miss one, there's always going to be another. That's the beautiful thing about charting the proper way. But yeah, that is Link. Fucking hell, that gave me a heart attack. Who was that? Bro, that gave me a heart attack. Jesus Christ. Oh, yeah, bro. That was good. RV and Uni. Let's take a look. Yeah, we can take a look at that, brother. I know, bro. I was Jesus Christ. My heart rate just spiked. I was like, what the hell? Clothesline me out of nowhere. Right. So let's look at RV and Uni. Okay, Uni's here. Ooh. Okay. Currently below the 87886 diagonal. That's something I'll spot straight away. So that is from this low to that high up there. So I'd want to recapture this for to enter any positions. But to be honest, you're above yearly levels here. That was a good entry over there. If not, I'll wait for the daily close. If the daily close is like this, obviously that's a very good reason to get in. But then the question would be, even with that, why could you not get above, right? So if the daily closes above this seller zone, I think it's worth an entry on Uni. But if it closes below, I'll just wait for this. Right, basically close above. Like if you get above, even just set some alerts up for this daily seller zone we have. Set some alerts up for there, and if you get above there, even if it's 1 hour, like 15 minutes, doesn't matter. Just go for look for that lower time frame entry model entry to turn it into a scalp to swing, right? Because you've hit yearly levels now. You've extended past the 87886. I don't know if there's any wave structures locally speaking, but I can try to find them. So if you go to Uni. It's the same chart here. Wave structures locally speaking. Do we have? Right. Let's see. Let's get a bit wild with it. We have this up to this, down to this. What about an 86? There we go. We do have a very nice bat on Uni here, to be honest. Now, pure harmonic traders are going to be frothing from the mouth when they see me do this. But again, everything. For me, price action is king, right? Price action context is the main thing. And the context here is that at the end of the day, this peak did not come just randomly. It came after we bottomed out here. So you can view this as one macro price scale, right? One macro impulse, let's say. You went from this low to this high, and then went from that high to this low. So if we're thinking about it along those lines, we have hit the 0.886 for the bat right over here. Right, let's lock that in place. Settings, coordinates. That's going to be 5.174. So this is your BAT 0.886. And you know what? Let's call it the macro BAT because that's what it is. The big boss. Right. And for the PRZ, we know 2.618 is a possibility. So let's see. Is it likely? How valid would the 2.618 be? For me, that would be extremely valid. So we're going to go down and we're also going to throw the 2.618 on. Come on, bro. Why the 9? It's a German harmonic. Okay, there we go. $4. Gonna go here. There's your PRZ, right? You've hit the PRZ. This is your BAT 2. Same thing. Some macro BAT. 2.618. Boom, there's your PRZ. You've obviously not hit the lower one yet, but you're above the high one. So if you can get any sort of pullbacks now on the daily, which you already did, to be honest, you've already got the 1 hour entry on the. So what you're looking for then is, oh, this is very tight price action. I like it because you did the breakout, you got the retest, you created a buyer seller zone, you've tapped into the buyer seller zone. Okay, so for Uni, I would argue it's very simple here. You have your daily seller zone, current cycle right over here. If you flip that daily seller zone into support, you get above, even on the 15 minutes, 1 hour, doesn't matter, right? If you're looking at daily, price action, remember it's 1 hour to 4 hour entry model, so I'd say 1 hour is a good place to be. But if you start getting 1 hour closes above this, I'd say you have a long in your hands. So now on the hourly, this is also a supply zone. You currently have sellers taking control. So if the daily closes below this level, you also have a potential short to take to the downside, right? So we go to the 4 hours. Yeah, this looks, locally speaking, that looks like, supply, 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 and supply again. So even if the 4 hour closes below in 1 hour like this, right, you can try and take this below. You can try and take a trade off the hourly. If the hour closes below 5.50, you have a you have a shot at a short, right? The only problem is risk management is going to be a bit iffy. Something like this. Simply because if you put it here, you're going to have to look for a wider drawdown to actually make it worthwhile in terms of risk management. So either you do this on the hourly, if you're looking at 1 hour, 1 minute to 5 minute entry models, or your next option is to just go to the proper scalping time frames. Initial entry was over there, right? That would have been the clean entry. Obviously we missed that by like less than half an hour now. It's what it is. So if you wanted to short, you wait for something like this and you can just put your stop loss above. Now this is going to be way more prone to being stopped out, but your risk is also way tighter, right? So something like this is what you're looking for on the 3 minutes. So you pick your poison. Which time frame do you want to go for? How often do you want to get stopped out? That is what you base your sort of stop loss off on. But I wouldn't long uni until you start flipping 5.543 into support. So if you're seeing this on the opposite, like basically you're looking for price action like this to occur, okay? On uni. So that is uni. And last but not least, let's look at RV. And then I'll call it there. I don't want to be going for too long. Right, where have I got RV? I think it's in focus. Yep. Just take a look. What did you hit? 23, 24, 12-month buy seller zone. It's what we talked about, right? Last time we looked at RV, it was here, around this. We said if you ever lose this zone, it's down to here you go. So we've hit that. Nice reaction. Let's take a look. I like to do this to just get a holistic view of things. That's good. That's a nice area. These are where high lows come in on the macro. Right, that's good. Apart from that, do we have any wave structure here? So right, we clearly do. ABCD. There we go. Boom, we've hit that. We drew this on a while ago. So the first ABCD hit, right? Now it's a pretty scuffed ABCD, but it's an ABCD nonetheless, right? You have a high at A. You have your B. You have your C. 587 top. What is that the closest to? That is closest to the 618. Okay. So then I'm just putting the 618 projection to the outside, i.e. 1.618 around here somewhere. So that 1.618 is definitely hit. Right, there we go. Next, what do we have? We have something wider. Right, you have your A right over here. You have your B down to that low, right? Which means you have your C 495. So if you're looking at basically 0.5, you're looking for that 2.0 on the extension. Now this one we haven't hit yet. Yeah, just leave it to that. Right, so if you do make another lower high, this is very much a target. And then ultimately, hang on, why have I got two of the same? Oh no, and then we've got this, right? So we have a 382, and if that's a 382, then that'd be a 2.24. So we've got those targets. Should we carry on going lower? But if not for that, we also have probably some M shapes here, right? So let's take a look from this low up to this high to this low, back to this high. That looks like an 886. No, very close. It's 876. There. It's pretty much a front run of the 886, right? So we could just go and, you know, do this. Tag that past 2.618, maybe, right? But 886 hasn't hit yet technically, but that's something to watch out for. So let's leave that on for now. But that's close enough where you could say the bat's completed, right? Now on the weekly, what else do we have? Now we could argue if that's a 618. One could argue for that. This looks like a Gartley to me. There we go. Now, is that valid? I can't tell yet. 1 sec. 4 hours. What came first? Yes, that is completely and utterly valid. There we go. We have a Gartley. Again, pure harmonic traders are going to froth at the mouth because it's not from the low. I don't care. This is the low. This is the macro low. This is the macro high. That is a wave structure. There is no denying that is a wave structure. People get too caught up on it has to be this wave structure. It has to be that wave structure. Doesn't matter, right? There's your macro wave structure, so I'm pulling it as a macro harmonic. You have hit a Gartley if you consider it that way. 0.786 is right over here. There you go. So you had a really nice PRZ here in the sense that you had the macro Gartley 0.786, and you also had, if I now turn this off and this back on, you had the 886 just below you, right? So go here, that can still hit, of course, but we now have more reason to believe that it might not, because at the end of the day, the macro Gartley 786 is also being respected. And of course, all this means for shit if the buyers can't keep the auctioning up here. But we have the bat 0.886 here. So we had a really nice PRZ. What are you talking about? 1 second. I did the wrong one. This is 110. Oh, there. Control C. Boom. Okay, there we go. Really, really nice PRZ, right? Maybe you get a type to return. Maybe you get one more check back. If you get any sort of check back to this area, it's a bid. However, right, based on the weekly close today, if the weekly close is like this, like, you know, if you believe this to be an area of value, which I do, you can very easily just do this. Okay, again, 20 40 40, but for now, higher time from swing spot, this is where you would enter. 20 40 40 again though, right? Wait for the weekly close. 20 40 40. I'd enter max 30% because they're 25% risk, and then size up when trend shifts, so on and so forth, right? But literally buying and holding spot, I think outperforms a lot of traders over the coming months. But yeah, I think Aave looks good, bro. Let me add that to Focus V2. Boom. Right, that's that. No problem. No problem, bro. Which coin are you talking about, bro? You talking about ENA? Oh, wait. Do you mean Vitho? Is that one you're talking about? Yo, sup, John? How you doing, brother? Right, let's take a look at that. I think I've got it here somewhere. But Vitho USDT USD. Right, so this is what I had sent as to, yeah, so below this level, right? A good timing on that actually, John. If you remember in DMs, I said, you know, if you get below this level, this is what you're looking for, right? So we pretty much got the first one. We front ran the second downside target, but it was a close one. So now if you can get above, sure, you have a shot higher. Otherwise, yeah, that was a nasty wick down as soon as you lost that level. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you went to key inflection area, I suppose, KFA 1 to 2. You've held it for now, so you can make it back to historical price range. But if you're doing that, then again, you know, there's better coins. You know, there's way more better coins to get into. You don't have to worry about getting into this. I don't think I'm gonna call this one. No. But yeah, so is there anything for me to go over? 1 sec. Let me quickly do a scan. We've done this. We looked at the PAL. Nice reaction. Double bottom basically, or rather a higher low. Good reclaim of 2024 12-month macro read buy zone low. This is still an AI play for me. Low cap, so positioned accordingly, but I think this has room to run. But apart from that, I don't think there's much else for me to go over, to be honest. Right? XRP got the raid, successful reclaim. So if we can get one more drive, something like this, to XRP, I think it would look amazing. But let's see what happens. Let's analyze Bitcoin before we finish off again. So just going sideways, nothing much has happened. Like we said, you successfully flipped this, you probably go higher, right? So it's looks to be a successful flip for now. But where are we sat? Just choppy, and then how many 3 minutes have passed since we started streaming? Jesus Christ. Right, let's take a look. Nice buying pressure. Nice. Okay. yeah, nothing much to go over on the higher time frame. Like I've already said everything I needed to say. On the lower time frame, like I'm not going to be trading here anyway, right? This is middle of nowhere right now. So either we get up there, or we turn around and we get back down towards these areas, and maybe put one more drive down to the key inflection area itself. But yeah, I think that's it from me. Nothing much to go over. No point over analyzing. So I'm gonna end the recording here, guys. I'm gonna